Oh hey, look! April 15th Bounce Patch Preview! Yeah! I'm in shock and oh, that Arena can deliver a patch this disappointing right after seemingly getting their shit somewhat back together. As soon as I started to believe they can be normal for a second, here we go. Spectral Grasp gets its range cut by half in all 3 game modes. Spectral Grasp wasn't a big deal in pretty much any mode. You could use it to pull adds in PvE and to catch people out or pull people off of walls in World v World. But that's essentially it. I would understand this sort of a change if all the pulls across the board were reduced to certain range. But as you may have realized, Scorpion Wire is 1200 range, Magnet has 1200 range, fucking Fanged Iboga pull has 1200 range, and Hunter's Verdict, Spear of Justice follow-up skill, has 1200 range. On top of being the only ranged pull that's fully unblockable, that can be delayed after the initial hit to wait out stability or invulnerability, while also not taking up utility slot nor being tied to any brain-dead animal other than the one using it. If Spectral Grasp deserves to be 600 range, then every pull in the game deserves to be 600 range. And if you argue that nerf is because it can pull multiple targets, so can fucking Spear of Justice. And in environments as dense as Zerg fights, it is equally as likely to hit 5 targets with either of those 2 skills. So the question currently remains, which of the game developers got pulled off of a wall by a necromancer in World v World and got butthurt about it? That's the only explanation to why Necropull was singled out specifically out of entire bunch of pulls. And if it was a problem in group fights, they would just reduce the target count without touching the range, like they did with Warrior Staff 4. Speaking of Warrior Staff and Warrior in general, I cannot tell why Arena devs have such a difficult time grasping how the simple class functions. It's Warrior, not fucking rocket science. And yet Arena is capable of consistently mishandling Berserker to such a comical degree that each upcoming patch is an interesting read through the sheer morbid insanity of ArenaNet's ongoing crusade against logic. Target cap nerf makes no sense in the same patch which supposedly aims to reduce prominence of target cap fodder strategies by directly nerfing Mechanist, but also buffs survivability of Ranger, Bear and Boar pets, buffing those same strategies. But hey, nothing here makes sense, so that at least checks out. Furthermore, as you may have knew, the cooldown of Snap Pull in PvP is already 22 seconds, while in World v World is 18. Now it is being nerfed in World v World, specifically because it wasn't equal before. Similarly, Willbender in PvP wouldn't be much of an issue if the last patch's Virtue cooldown nerfs were implemented in both modes, not just World v World. Yet in both cases, ArenaNet just refuses to act logically. Which you may see further down with Martial Cadence, giving stability instead of quickness in World v World, but still giving quickness in PvP. Cadence used to be offensive tool, making your long bursts like Flurry faster, or your follow-ups after setup bursts like Earthshaker faster. After this change, Martial Cadence in World v World will essentially be an AoE stalwart strength. I would be very glad if devs made up their bloody mind to what the hell Martial Cadence is supposed to be doing, because all they're doing right now is making everything more confusing and unnecessarily convoluted. Traits should not fill completely different roles in different versus modes, because it is just confusing to everyone trying to build, craft or play different modes, and in general is just downright stupid. Next in line comes Berserker Stance getting 1 second longer duration. Enjoy this moment as it is one of very few not completely idiotic changes in this patch. However, with Last Stand, that's 6.5 seconds of the stance itself, which will mean 7 seconds of resistance and 42 adrenaline total, which will make it a great asset for one specific warrior build that used to use it before. Mace Condi Tank Berserker, also known as the atrocious bullshit that should not exist. Right after buffing borderline most toxic build in the game and definitely most toxic one warrior has access to, we get word v word damage nerfs to Arc Divider and Slicing Maelstrom. You know, the only two reasons to pick Power Berserker over Spellbreaker in large-scale fights in word v word. So my question goes as follows. Dear ArenaNet, should we understand your quote, tuning Berserker in competitive modes, as we don't want to see any Power Berserker, just Condi variants, because that's what you're going to get. Then comes the hardcore coping from ArenaNet, which are Rupturing Smash and Flaming Flurry damage buffs. This is something that a genuine non-warrior main who never played Berserker would come up with if he was tasked with buffing Power Berserker by his employer. You can walk up to any warrior main and ask them what is the biggest problem with either of these two skills, and I can guarantee you no one's first answer would be the damage. If, unlike ArenaNet developers, you have played Berserker at least once, you may have known already that Hammer F1 is a leap skill. Leap skills do not scale their cast time with quickness. Therefore, playing Hammer Berserker and performing your typical Burst Blood Reckoning burst combo off Rage Opener is a waste of quickness you get from Burst of Aggression. You literally counter your own biggest advantage, the aforementioned quickness, by trying to play Hammer Berserker normally. Not to mention, with how slow Hammer is, you're borderline guaranteed to get blinded or interrupted mid-air, so you need both stability and resistance to land those Hammer bursts. And even if you manage to touch the ground with it, any source of group stability, group ages, group resistance, or group protection is going to largely deny you your kill pressure. As if you don't have unblockables, your smash will be nullified completely. And even if you do, your enemies can dodge if they have resistance, can cast if they have stability, and you cannot kill fast enough through protection. If you want to help Hammer Berserker shine, here are 3 suggestions. First, allow Rupturing Smash to be an exception from the rule stating that quickness doesn't affect leap skills. Rupturing Smash is already an ability only available from within Rage, and such change wouldn't do much past putting the speed of Hammer Rage Opener on par with Greatswords. Second suggestion, move Resistance on entering Berserk off of Bloody Roar and put it on Smash Brawler, or make Burst of Aggression grant 1 stack of stability, so that Power Berserker can obtain both resistance and stability on Rage Opener, and don't get immediately interrupted by any throwaway CC enemy has. Third, consider allowing Berserker to strip protection or boons in general, either baseline or through a trait effect. Unlike Hammer, Sword Primal Burst, Flaming Flurry, has very simple problem to explain. Its projectiles are unreliable. You can easily make those miss by so much as strafing with swiftness, and they are prone to plethora of downright idiotic interactions with terrain, making for very unreliable ability. Why should I use something that practically never behaves how I expect it to and can be avoided by majority of meta specs without burning a cooldown? Not to mention, entirety of this skill counts as a projectile, ergo is countered by projectile denial, and can be reflected, but it cannot hit enemies holding a high ground, even a pathetically low high ground. Increasing this skill's damage will not fix its inconsistencies. Consider fixing the skill before you crank its damage up to 11 and wonder why still no one uses it. No one uses it, and no one will, because it's slow as fuck and half the time it doesn't hit. Give this shit fast, reliable projectiles, like for example Wild Throw projectiles, or it will remain underused, no matter the damage output. After that atrocity, we get cooldown reduction to Blood Reckoning, which is nice. Next in line, Burst of Aggression will now grant Fury, which is borderline worthless, because Eternal Champion exists, so this Fury duration will be somewhere around 3 seconds, meaning it will not have any significant impact on performance of builds that had to, for example, utilize Relic of Midnight King or Opportunist for Fury upkeep. Harbinger gets to pulse AoE quickness for just existing in Shroud. Why can't Berserker self-apply Fury for just being in Rage? Then next in line, Dead or Alive gets a buff, which will again help incrementally more the builds utilizing Eternal Champion, which basically just means Mace Akim Kondi Tankzerker, which will overtake the meta and get Warrior Hotfix nerf. Mark my words. And the cherry on top, Rake Enchantments gets its damage reduced in World Reward, because we need to punish the miscreant that challenges our beloved brain-dead Boon Vomit meta, but nonetheless. I have nothing more to say. Maybe I'm just bewildered to the point of becoming speechless. Or maybe there's indeed nothing else to be said. Fortunately, there at least weren't any comical nerfs to Warrior Dispatch, but I can almost guarantee there will be some next time, after Arena overbuffs Mace Kondi Zerker to the absolute extreme. Anyway, a big sign of gratitude to all my generous supporters, continuously considering my dubious quality content worth their money. You're all truly welcome. Crapface out.